Hey everyone, my name is Pastor Mark. Yesterday afternoon at Cabarita Beach in New South Wales, there was a shark attack.
Gripping the back of a surfer's board, a teenage boy has just been mauled by a shark.
A couple brave surfers helped this young man get to shore safely, and one of these young men, named Jacob, was the first to arrive at the scene in the water.
And Jacob Atchison became a hero.
Frantic moments just after. You can see nearby surfers dragging him from the water.
I had the privilege to interview Jacob for this story, and what you're about to listen to are the events firsthand from what happened yesterday afternoon on that beach. We hope you enjoy it, and welcome to For His Glory. All right, Jacob, mate, crazy weekend. But before we get into all those details, I'll get the audience to get to know you a little bit. So tell me a bit about, first of all, your name, where you're from, where you grew up, and maybe just give me a bit of insight into your hobbies and what you like to do.
Sure, yep. So yeah, I'm Jacob. I've lived here for the past 7 years, I think. At the moment, I am studying at university. I'm studying teaching. And yeah, I've always loved surfing. Surfing has always been a big hobby of mine. I also like working with my hands, so I'm actually a blacksmith as well, so I make knives and other stuff like that. But yeah. Yeah,
that's awesome. I was actually going to make a little bit of a joke about sharks and knives, but we won't go there. So tell me, how long have you been surfing for? Do you remember the first time you ever went surfing?
Yeah, so I was actually down at Grassy Head, and someone took me out on their big longboard. I think it was Matt Parra, and he taught me how to surf. Just caught a small wave and it was great, loved it, and that kind of fired a desire to surf, and ever since then I've been catching waves.
Oh yeah, right. Oh, that's awesome.
So probably 7, 8 years.
Yeah, okay, 7, 8 years. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, well, so you also, one more thing before we move on. You mentioned you're doing teaching.
Yeah.
What kind of teaching are you doing? What sort of subjects are you into?
I'm going to be doing TAS teaching, which is kind of technology and metalwork, woodwork. So, yeah, I'll be learning how to do that a bit more.
Awesome. So, man, just going to pivot a little bit. You've had a crazy weekend. Man, sharks and people struggling in the water, and you out surfing, kind of painting the quintessential sort of scene that we think about when we think of shark attacks. So, but before we go there, what was going on Sunday? How did you find yourself at Cabba? What were you up to? Yeah, tell me, sort of replay the events in your mind as you remember it.
So, I have a friend from France that really wants to learn to surf. And so I decided that I'd take him out. I got a longboard for him and we drove down to Cabarita Beach, and yeah, I started to teach him to surf. First we started on the sand, just doing the normal stuff you do, popping up and where you sit in your board, all that kind of stuff. We went out and yeah, he caught some waves on his belly and tried to stand up. It was great. He was having a good time and it was good. Just we're actually surfing over in a really protected area of the beach. The waves were small, it was shallow. A lot of beginners were out, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you tell me this guy's from France.
Yep.
And his first time surfing.
Yep.
Unbelievable. And so, did he manage to stand up at all, or?
I think he tried. He got up, but didn't really surf for too long.
Yeah, okay.
He was doing great. Yeah.
Oh,
for a first surf, he was doing really well.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you said there was a lot of people there that day, or?
Yeah, it was stacked. Like all the way down the beach was just packed full of surfers. Even though it's winter, the waves are just pretty good. And
yeah, waves are good. How's the water?
Water was beautiful, crystal clear. Really? Just amazing. Yeah.
So overall, what was the weather like that day?
It was a bit overcast. A storm was kind of moving towards us, and the waves are getting a little bit bigger. But it's still a nice day. Still pretty bright.
Yeah, okay. So is this a pretty popular surfing spot?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
When it gets good, everyone goes there.
Yeah, okay. So it's good for like experienced and beginners alike.
Yeah, got different variations in the
Cool.
beach. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, did you guys see anything kind of cool out that day? Did you notice anything that you were able to show him that was awesome?
Yeah. Actually, as I was driving over, we saw some whales, and
Oh,
I
sweet.
thought that was cool, just blowing out their steam. And another thing was we saw a seal. I've never ever seen a seal at Cabarita, but
Really?
this one day there's just a seal out there. I'm like, what? I'm not supposed to come up this far.
Really? So where are seals usually found?
Way more south, like south of Sydney, I'm guessing.
Yeah, okay.
Or maybe actually a bit more north, but they kind of get rarer the further you go up.
Okay, gotcha. So, was it just chilling in the water, just floating, head up?
Yep, just having a great day, just on its back, and I think it was eating something with its flippers. It was pretty
Really?
cute.
So did you paddle up to it, or?
Yeah, I actually paddled over and didn't get too close, but you could see it, and it was having a good time.
Mate, at that mind when you're seeing this seal, is anything going through your mind?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So tell me what are you thinking about?
The thought didn't come to my mind until a bit later, after I was paddling back, but I thought, yeah, because of the seals, there'll probably be a shark here. When the sharks will often follow behind, and seals are one of the main foods of a shark, and yeah, I guess it was just that idea that seals and sharks kind of in the same area. I've been told as well for a lot of my life that when the seals, there'll be sharks.
Yeah, okay. Did that bother you at all at the time, or?
Not too much. Like, it was a packed day, and it was low tide. The water was pretty shallow where we were. I was just not expecting at all for there to be a shark there.
Yeah, okay. So for Tom, was he just hanging around you? Was he with you the whole time? Were you guys together?
Yeah, pretty much. But I think at this point, he was a little bit to the right of me. Mm-hmm. Previously, it would have been pretty close, and I'd been pushing onto waves, but he was kind of independent now. He could make his way around.
Yeah, okay. So if you were to give me, someone who doesn't surf, an approximation of how far out you were from shore, how far out would you say you were out most of the time?
Probably 30 metres,
Yeah, okay.
20, something like that.
Yeah, okay. All right. And so were you guys able to stand up in that water, or is it still deep enough to not touch?
Deep enough to not touch, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It would have been like on top of my head or maybe arm somewhere. It was still shallow, and depending where we went, like it would get deeper or shallower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you stayed in pretty much around the same area, general area the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a bit further down. The rest of the people were closer to the point, but we were a bit further down.
So if you could just give me an image in my mind, how would you describe Cabarita Beach itself and the cove that you're at? Sort of paint the picture of where you were.
So imagine like a nice big rocky headland, and then you kind of go down from that, and there's a bunch of rocks, and there's like this cove kind of protected beach area. And off from this point is a good surf break, and then you go further down, there's a bunch of more rocks. It's almost another headland, but it's kind of mostly eroded.
Right.
And then past that is the main beach of Cabarita. So
Okay.
we're surfing up near the point, up near the big rocky headland. Yeah.
So, all right, cool. And so were there a lot of people, besides just being in the water, were there a lot of people on the beach itself that day?
Yeah, not as much as summer, but it was still pretty packed. Like blankets out, people walking around, a bunch of surfers.
So no drizzle or anything like that from the rain?
No, it didn't start till after we got out.
Okay, all right. So how many hours were you doing that for, do you think, before we get to the next?
It's probably 40 minutes to an hour before it happened.
Yeah, okay. All right, so could you give us a little bit of an insight then, just switching over to now, to what took place after? Could you sort of paint a picture for us, maybe the first few minutes, just before it happens, kind of what's going on, just as you hear what happens next?
Yeah, sure. So I'm sitting on my board in the water. it's kind of getting a little bit colder, and I'm just looking out, waiting for the waves to come, just spaced out in my surfer zone. It's great. You're just not thinking about anything, or not much, and kind of in the zone, just enjoying the ocean. And I hear from behind me this annoying yell, "Help, help!" And I turn around, and it's this kid who's going ballistic. And the first thoughts in my mind are like, oh, they're just playing some game. They shouldn't cry wolf like that. I don't know what I was thinking. It was just quick thought. And then just after that, I look over and I see this big splash. I'm like, this is serious. And yeah.
So how far away from you was the individual that was crying for help? How far away were they?
Probably 10 to 15 meters. And they were actually further towards the beach, which is crazy because I used to always think if I'm the furthest person out in a surf break, I'm more likely to get eaten by a shark. But this attack happens closer to the sand, which was really wild.
So at this point, when you see the splash and you hear the yelling for help, does it cross your mind that it's a shark, or does something else kind of?
Yeah, so I don't immediately think it's a shark until I look over and actually see what it is. And then it's like, that's a shark.
Okay.
And that's not good. That's a problem.
Do you actually see the shark at this point?
Yeah, you can see fins and stuff flapping about, and yeah, not the whole thing, but.
So is the individual crying for help, is that the one being attacked?
No, so the one crying for help is his brother. I'd seen them swimming earlier. They were kind of catching some waves and a bit further in, still a fair way out, but yeah, there'll often be swimmers that will go out, and me, myself, when I swim, I'll go out into the surf break.
So were they surfers or just regular beachgoers swimmers?
Yeah, just beachgoers, swimmers, just having fun in the water.
So as soon as you see this splash, what's your next reaction?
It was, a lot happened in my mind in a very short amount of time. It was, the first thoughts were, that is bad, that is scary. And then the next thoughts were, that's a human, and they're under the water. And then I just got pumped full of adrenaline, and I just got really angry at the shark, and just started paddling straight towards it. Just this thing's gonna get screwed up, like, and I probably will in the process, but that kid's gonna come out alive.
So let me get this straight. Your reaction is, I'm mad at this shark. I'm gonna go over and mess this shark up. That's wild. That's some Rambo type stuff, man.
Yeah, I don't know where I got that courage from. Not myself.
Right. So then I'm guessing you just on your board paddle over as quick as you can. Tell me what happens then. Just tell me about that.
So as I'm paddling over, I see the swirling and the frenzy, and arms and legs are going up in the air, then going back down, and fins. And as soon as I get there, I'm yelling, thrashing about in the water, kicking in. It's definitely a blur from there because I'm just so zoned in, kind of running off autopilot and just save this kid. I definitely make contact with the shark a few different times. And then finally it lets go, and I'm able to pull the kid from under the water.
So if we could spend a few moments in that scene, what can you remember exactly what you're seeing? Do you catch a glimpse of the shark itself? What are you seeing in the water? Because you said it was good visibility that day.
So yeah, because of all the action, the sands kind of come up. You can't see as well, and it's obviously a lot of bubbles and a lot of action. But you can definitely see a lot of movement, a lot of fins and arms, and yeah, it's happening. I guess as I actually come into it to try get my hands on it, it does stop, and as I'm yelling and thrashing and hitting, it goes away. And then I have this, it's kind of blurry from there, and then I have this distinct memory of everything's red around me. And I'm just like, this is not good, I need to stop this bleeding right now. But it wasn't like I'm scared, I'm not like panicking, I'm just like, okay, there's blood, I'm gonna stop the blood. And so I pull him up and I look for the wound, and his arm's pretty well screwed up. Doesn't look nice, and yeah, a lot of blood's coming out. So I grab the arm just above where the blood is and pull it tight as I can with my hands. And the blood stops, and the pool of blood kind of washes away.
Did you get a glimpse of this shark, like its eyes, its mouth, anything like that in that moment, or was it just mainly the fins?
Mainly the fins.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, after I kind of got to the ball of it all, or the frenzy of it all, and did whatever I did, yeah, turned away and kind of went away. All I could see was a bit of movement in the water.
Did you try to attack the shark first, or did you race just straight for the buoy?
I think it was the shark first, and then the boy started to come up, and I grabbed him and pulled him up.
So were you just kicking, punching, that sort of a thing? From
Yeah,
memory?
yeah.
All right. So after you've grabbed this boy, you said you were holding him around the arm. Is that?
Yeah.
That's right, to stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
So then, what happens after that point?
After that point, I hear this voice. Somebody's beside me, and they're yelling, "We need to get him to shore! Quick, get him to shore!" I'm like, "Yes, we do," but this blood's not going to bleed out, and so I'm holding it, and I can kind of like just touch the bottom, like it's up to my shoulders probably, or neck. It's kind of hard to exactly remember how deep it was. So I'm like half swimming, half kicking off the bottom, and this guy is helping me. And yeah, I'm just holding tight on the arm and kind of pulling him as I'm holding tight. And we're swimming / pushing. Old mate's got him, and together we're pulling him in.
So you're off the board at this point?
Yeah, my board's trailing behind me.
So, okay. So how long between you grabbing this boy's arm and this other guy making his way over to come and help you, how long was that?
I don't know exactly. Yeah, like I say, it is a lot of a blur.
Sure.
But it was fairly soon, from memory. And that was great to have someone else there. And he was very logical and very, very good in making commands and helping me bring him in. Yeah, he did a lot of the pulling work to get him in.
Yeah, that's insane. So you jumped off the board to grab this boy's arm, or you just naturally just slipped off the board? Because I'm just trying to think.
Yeah.
You're on a board, you're trying to reach this boy up. Do you just jump off the board and start swimming? Is that?
Yeah, I'm off the board as soon as I get there. I don't even remember getting off the board.
Yeah, okay.
I just remember just being there, just trying to break up the fury of it all.
That's wild, Jacob. That's wild.
Yeah.
So once you and this other guy, was he out surfing as well? Was he just swimming?
Yeah, he was just swimming. Yeah.
Okay. So once he makes it to you and the lad, you're both pulling him in together to shore, is that right?
Yep.
Now, what was interesting is that day, later on, there was actually a video of somebody taking, or on their phone taking a video of the whole commotion from the headland. And what's crazy is if you watch the video, this shark is stalking you all, you both and this boy, all the way into shore. It's actually insane how close the shark gets.
Totally.
Do you have any recollection of you and this when you and this gentleman are bringing this boy into shore, of this shark trailing you guys?
Yeah. The whole time I'm pulling him back, I don't know whether I could see movement or feel movement or whether it's touching my legs, but I just knew it was there. Like, I knew the shark hadn't left us yet. There was one point where I think it went away a bit, but for the most part it was right with us for the whole time. And then just as we get him to shallow water, everyone rushes over to help pull him out of the water. And I just see the shark right there in the shallows. It'd be like this deep. And it just turns around, looks at me, and then just goes back into the ocean. At that moment, I'm like, I want to murder that thing.
Wow. So you're just feeling, you know what strikes me, Jacob, is how angry you are at this shark. Man, oh, that's funny.
The anger totally helped me, I reckon. But
Yeah. Okay. So you said when you get to shore, tell us what happens then. What happens as soon as you guys are in that shallow water?
So we get to shore, we lift him up further up onto the beach, and then you take a big breath. We got him to shore. I'm like, yes, we did it. I'm still holding really tight around his arm because it's bleeding. I look down his leg and I can see there's now clearly a lot of visible bite marks in his leg. Nothing's bleeding crazy down there, but a lot of really deep gashes. And I'm yelling, somebody bring a leg rope. We need to stop the bleeding so we can tie it around the arm. I'm probably making no sense. I'm even talking fast now, but would have been talking so fast back then. And someone brought a leg rope. They tied it around his arm. And I could finally let go. By this point, an off-duty paramedic shows up at the scene and starts giving commands in a very calm and assuring voice. Everyone takes kind of a breather, and the panic kind of stops, and she goes to work to put him in recovery position, and we eventually get him onto a surfboard so we can carry him up. But as she's doing this, she asked me, hey, can you run up to the back of my car and grab a toolbox with a tourniquet in it? And so, like a medic box. So I run up, there's like the old walkway's blocked off, so I have to jump the fence. And then looking for the cars, she said it was a Nissan something. And so I find it, open the back, and there's the box. And I rush it down, and in the box is a tourniquet and some scissors. So by now they've walked up to the grass, up on the kind of near the playground. And she further gets to work and applies the tourniquet. We pull off the leg rope, and it's pretty brutal, but yeah.
Mate, at this point, is there blood all over the beach and yourself?
Yeah, it's not like a lot of blood, but
yeah, a lot of it would have been in the water.
Yeah, the surfboard that we carried him up on was all red. Yeah.
Mate. So, as for yourself, did you manage to pick up any kind of injuries that day, bringing this lad in?
Completely unscathed.
Yeah, wow.
It's crazy. I believe it's a miracle that the shark didn't bite me. Because I went straight into that. The shark was eating him when I got there. And for it to just stop eating him and not grab me, or not even just prick my foot at all, or my hand or anything. Just to be completely unscathed. Last night I had a shower, I was checking myself, I'm like, how did I make it out of that?
All limbs intact,
Yeah.
all digits there, mate. Yeah, right. So, mate, you're so on the beach, they've applied the tourniquet. Sorry. What's the moments like after this? What's going on?
Everyone starts gathering around to see what's happened, and after a while you hear a helicopter over top flying past, and then the ambulance shows up and the paramedics jump out and they get to work, and it's even more an assurance of, okay, he's going to make it. They're here, they can sort him out. Yeah.
Awesome. At that point, are you just feeling relief or adrenaline dump?
I start shivering at this point.
Yeah.
And it starts raining as well. And so, yeah. And also, I see his mother, and I see the brother who sounded the alarm, and also see a few people I know. And I go up to the mother, and they're a bit of a mess. And I go up to her and I mention, I'm the one that helped pull your boy in. And she was just so thankful. And just this whole time I'm just like, man, praise God that he used me to help this boy. And yeah, I'm a Christian, and I fully believe that God saved that boy's life. And I was able to offer to pray with the mother, and so we said a short prayer, and the whole time I'm just like sharing with people, I believe this is a miracle. I believe that God has worked, and I really do believe that He worked.
Yeah. Wow. So from what I'm gathering, like that scene was obviously quite like emotionally hectic and full on,
sure.
because mum's crying. I'm assuming the brother's also super upset. So you were able to speak to that situation because of your faith. How are you doing post that? Where's your head at? I think I don't know how many hours after that happened I saw you, but do you want to walk us through that and just your reflections on that whole incident and how your faith has kind of helped you unpack and understand that?
Yeah, sure. No, I believe the whole thing's a miracle. First of all, I'm afraid of blood. When someone takes my blood, I get wheezy and like fall over and faint.
Really?
And sharks as well, they've always been my biggest fear of surfing. Like, I'm always like, oh, there could be sharks here, and always just terrified of them. And yet, the two things I'm the most afraid of, I was able to overcome that fear. And I don't think that's something that I could personally do. I should have run away. But actually, before me and my mate went for a surf, we prayed. We prayed for protection, for God to lead us and to use us. I truly believe that God used me. And not only used me by giving me the courage and strength, but protected me and the boy as we went all the way back into shore. Like, that shark followed us. Why didn't it eat us on the way? Like, people were swimming away from it, and yet we get into shore and the shark's right there, and yet we're unscathed. The shark doesn't bite anymore, should I say. And yeah, I think my faith has really helped me through this, and yeah, I'm just super thankful. As for me personally, yeah, I'm doing well. Still praying for the whole family, and just really hoping that they can get well, especially the injuries, and that they can just be all right. Other than that, I'm fine. I feel at rest. I was actually reading my Bible this morning and last night after this happened. And I was just so thankful for what God has done. And this verse jumped out to me. In Daniel chapter 10, verses 19. And this says, and he said, O man greatly beloved, fear not, peace to you, be strong. Yes, be strong. In this passage, an angel is speaking to Daniel. He's saying, be strong. And I don't know if someone's ever told you to be strong, but it's like, okay, well, what does that mean? But yet here, as the verse continues, it says, so when he spoke to me, I was strengthened. And the thing that hit me out of this verse is that God's words saying be strong, the command to be strong, was then fulfilled by God in Daniel's life. And I truly believe that God said be strong and made me strong yesterday. And yeah, that was encouraging. And so many other verses and things I've read have really been a blessing.
So for you, how did you develop such faith?
So I've been raised a Christian. My parents have shown me Bible stories about men of courage of old who stood up for their faith and were able and willing to give their lives, even if it meant that they would die. They're willing to give their lives for somebody else. And that's something that's kind of been ingrained in me throughout my childhood and up to now. And I've always desired to be like that. And so in this time when this kid was getting eaten, I was able to give my life, and God protected me. And yeah, I believe that yeah, through reading the Bible and being raised in this has really helped me to have this faith and have this strength.
So, mate, after this whole incident, I've got to ask another question. Are you ever going to go surfing again?
Yes. But the thing is, probably not for a while.
Yeah. Well, surf's not going anywhere, mate. So yeah.
I've thought about this a little bit, and I do love surfing, but I think it would be traumatic to get back into it straight away.
Well, mate, if I ever had to learn to surf from anyone, I feel like being out there with you, I'd be in good hands. All right, love it. Cool. Hey, thanks for your time, man.
Yeah.